Dracula!
What's up, everybody out there in YouTube land? Wrath2501 here. Alright, you guys have been telling me about this one from Popcross Studios. This is what if legendary Pokemon were SCPs, alright? So I do like the stories he puts in this. And this is a long one, so let's get this one started as soon as possible. Alright, so here we go, and go.
Welcome back to another episode of making Pokemon a little bit wrinklier.
Okay, I'm saying this right now, right off the bat, I don't like that one.
I specifically asked for you all to give me suggestions for legendary Pokemon that you wanted to see turned into SCPs next. And I said this episode would come out around the time of Pokemon Legends Arceus. Well, today that game finally came out, so I've taken 4 of the most popular suggestions from the comment section of the last video in this series, and today we're making those into SCPs. I think this is a particularly good episode, so let's get into it, shall we? Let's
should have done that big bug.
Hit like if you want.
What's he called again?
If you feel like. But either way,
the bug steel type one.
Welcome once again, everyone, to another lecture on the many SCPs our Foundation studies and normally
Dude, that thing really
contains,
is an SCP.
though many of today's examples are exceptions. This evening we'll be discussing some of the most powerful and potentially dangerous SCPs known to the Foundation.
All Keter class.
While we've certainly spoken about some intriguingly anomalous creatures in the past, the might of today's SCPs is nothing short of legendary. This meeting is exclusively for level 4 personnel and above, so if you have found your way here without proper credentials, please leave now or know that you will be discovered, and proper amnestics will be used to make you forget everything you've heard here today. With that said, let us begin. Item number SCP-P150. Object Class, Keter. Special Containment Procedures. When P150 is eventually recaptured, it is to be heavily sedated and kept in a perpetual medically induced coma. A specialized bunker far beneath Site-19 has been built to house the SCP. It has triple reinforced walls and psionic nullifiers built in case the sedatives ever fail and P150 awakens again. Description: SCP-P150 was the first SCP to ever be genetically engineered by a member of the Foundation. A since-deceased doctor by the name of Blaine Katsura claimed to have found a DNA sample of an SCP he'd long hunted, but had never been able to prove existed. At the time, this SCP did not have a classification, but has since been found and been given one, SCP-P151. Blaine convinced a now-redacted superior at the time to grant him funding to try making a clone of this alleged SCP from the sample he'd found. He was granted permission and conducted his work in what was once Site-13. Through months of work, he was indeed able to create a creature that he believed was a superior version of the SCP he sought. It was a humanoid pale purple bipedal being with super intelligence and near immeasurable levels of psychic power. Blaine hoped to use this clone to find the original SCP from which the DNA sample was sprung, but soon after gaining sentience, P150 started asking questions. Why was it created? Why was it in containment? And eventually, why should it take orders from Blaine and the Foundation? With instruction from the superior to get the SCP in compliance, Blaine quickly had made a suit of armor for the SCP that they told it would enhance its strength, but in actuality was meant to suppress its power and keep it under Foundation control. P150 quickly got wise to the ploy and destroyed the suit, then soon after, destroyed all of Site-13,
from the Pokemon
killing
movie.
Blaine and all other doctors on site, freeing the SCPs inside, and eventually
that was
rendering
brutal
the site
in the movie, though. You know, you realize in the movie,
since that day, no sightings of SCP-P150 have been confirmed, but we have substantial evidence of what it might be up to. You see, the cloning process that created P150 left it with distinct gray markings that reveal it to be a clone. Prior to its existence, we knew of no other SCPs with these specific types of markings, but since
the markings like they were on the clones
escape,
from the movie.
many
I get
more
it. That's
such
clever.
SCPs have been spotted. It is believed by the Foundation that, for whatever reason, P150 is creating clones of other SCPs. Some speculate it's trying to make other creatures like itself, simply to have companions. Others believe it's building an army of SCPs that it can control to wipe out the Foundation out of a desire for revenge. Whatever the reason truly is, we must be ready for P-150
It is
to
really
eventually
gross looking,
resurface, so we can properly contain it and prevent any more lives being lost at the hands of a Foundation-created SCP.
Not the first SCP the Foundation has created. Yeah, looks like a big turd.
The following two SCPs have a
Really?
heavy dose
Arceus?
of speculation mixed into
Don't they
what
already
the
have one of
Foundation
these things?
actually
The
knows
deer?
about
Isn't
them.
that already
so
an
forgive
SCP?
me for the lack of definitive knowledge on the creatures, but I'll do my best to tell you all we know about these next two connected but very different SCPs.
Giratina then.
Item number SCP-P493.
They could have done on all of the dragons, just on,
Object
just on
class,
principle.
Apollyon. Special containment
Apollyon?
procedures
Oh, God.
not applicable as this creature cannot be contained. Description: P493 is an entity that has been referenced in religions and mythologies stretching back for thousands of years. Depictions of it can be found on ancient Greek pottery, Japanese tapestries, and there are even some early cave paintings that heavily resemble P493. While it is very rare for there to be a confirmed sighting of P493, over the last 60 years or so we have acquired a fair amount of footage and imagery of the creature and are able to confirm that it has a fairly consistent appearance. It is a 12-foot tall equine semi-draconic creature with a largely white hide. It is commonly seen with a golden four-pronged ring surrounding its waist, but the color of this ring can change when the SCP is using its abilities. While many
plates you
SCPs
can
have
equip
powers
with.
pertaining to certain elements, such as fire, earth, and water, P493 has proven able to control all the elements and more, and its ring changes hue
Wait.
depending on
I
whatever
don't think
ability it's
Arceus
using
has
at a
a
given
fairy
moment.
type plate though.
We
does
have
it?
yet
I
to
don't know.
witness
Please
the
let me know.
full extent of
Or
this creature's
I think it
power,
does have a steel
but we're
type,
quite
though.
certain its might exceeds that of every other SCP the Foundation has documented.
It actually does
In
not.
fact, if myths of this creature are true, which
In terms
is
of raw stats,
unconfirmed but
Mewtwo has the
generally
highest
considered
stats, has
plausible,
higher stats.
P493
Mewtwo is second
may have
only to
been the very
Rayquaza.
deity that created and now watches over our world or even universe. It is also speculated to be the entity that directly created many of the other most powerful SCPs we've documented, who also appear in ancient mythologies. In the Foundation's earliest days of attempting contact with this creature, it was still believed that the SCP could be contained. We utilized our most powerful weapons and sedatives and even attempted setting compliant SCPs against P493 to try
how'd
to
that work
get
out?
it into containment, but it easily wiped out every force laid against it in seconds. Luckily, the entity has not shown to be vengeful, and since we have ceased our efforts to contain it, it has not caused any harm to the Foundation. P493 very rarely shows itself to humans, and on rare cases when it has not been to a large population, meaning our lack of ability to contain it has not been detrimental to public perception.
It's literally a
on the
god, but can be
existence of
captured by a
anomalous
10-year-old
creatures.
kid with a Masterball.
Usually, it only appears to protect a lone human or small group from a particularly dangerous circumstance, oftentimes involving other dangerous SCPs. In every case thus far, we've been able to administer amnestics to the person or persons who witnessed P493, or, in the least, tarnish their reputations to ensure nobody believes what they have to say about P493's existence. This path has proven to be our best route at keeping 493's existence secret, while also
Pretty
avoiding
cool, but
incurring
considering
any
how
more
he's
of its
in this,
wrath.
he's doing like ones that are connected. He should have done a whole video on all the legendaries that are connected. Like for this one, he should have done all the dragons. Was it Palika,
Item number
Giratina,
SCP-P487.
Arceus, you know, and that other one.
Object class, Apollyon. Special containment procedures, once again, not applicable, as this creature cannot be contained. At least, more so than it already is. Description: P487 falls into the same mythological and religious tales as P493, but is generally regarded as far less compassionate towards humanity and the world as a whole, though some argue against tales of its malevolent history. P487 has been witnessed in two forms, but both have similar traits. It is a draconic, phantasmal, insect-like creature whose size ranges from 16 to 22 feet long, depending on its form. Its hide is black, red, and gold, and has tendrils spurring from its back that
It's
can
silver.
transform into wings, though regardless of their shape, it can consistently fly. Reports of this creature's powers are vast. It's referenced as having incalculable speed and strength, the power to control gravity, and even the ability to form and manipulate antimatter to its whim. P487 has never had a confirmed sighting in our dimension, though tales of its creation refer to it as having been formed in our world by P493. Stories go that P493 created P487 to help shape our world, but the draconic insect creature instead tried to destroy our world before its creator could complete its work. As a result, P487 was banished to another realm, hereafter referred to as the Distortion World. Some believe that the biblical tales of the fallen angel Lucifer are actually referencing this event, and that P487 is the genuine embodiment of the devil, and the Distortion World is hell. Well, that is speculation. What has been confirmed by Foundation personnel is that the Distortion World does exist, and P487 does indeed have dominion over it. Research the Foundation has done in the last 2 decades into the Distortion World, as well as into other realities, has led to inventions that allow us to move between dimensions. We have sent 3 expeditions into the Distortion World, but only one being has returned. Agent Cyrus, a seasoned scientist and field operative, returned from the Distortion World 3 seconds after having entered it, and yet he came back with tattered clothes, a full beard, and an extra inch of hair on his head. He reported that time moved differently in the Distortion World, and he'd been stuck there for 2 months. The rest of his team had either been driven mad or been killed by P487, but Agent Cyrus had been able to escape all the attacks. He claimed the reality was constantly dark, gravity fluctuated in its direction, and there was no solid earth, just floating stone platforms. He also claimed there was a constant feeling of discomfort that sunk into the core of his being in every second he was there. Unfortunately, Agent Cyrus later went mad from his time in the Distortion World and attempted to return with an array of weapons so he could try killing P487.
Good luck.
He was stopped and has since been undergoing psychiatric rehabilitation for the last 2 years.
Yeah, let me know how that
has
works.
shown little progress in regaining his faculties.
Figured.
While P487 has proven to be inherently hostile towards those who enter its realm, and tales of its origins do often refer to it as a destroyer or a renegade, the Foundation has found no definitive reason to attempt further containment of the creature. So far as we can tell, it is sufficiently contained in the Distortion World, and well, this is merely speculation. It is assumed by the Foundation that if P487 were ever able to enter our world, it would be promptly dealt with by its creator, P493. Of course, the Foundation does not leave things to chance, and we have begun creating countermeasures to send into the Distortion World to test as deterrents to P487. But trials have not been attempted yet, so data on this matter is still pending.
Dude, look at that mouth. That's pretty cool. I like that one. I haven't been too impressed by the other 2. I did like this one.
Like many of the more legendary SCPs, this next creature is referenced in some of the same mythologies as P493 and P487,
See, that's the thing.
and is likely the creature referred to in Hebrew legends of the Behemoth, but we do have much more definitive information on this creature, as it is currently in Foundation containment, so I will refrain from referring to myths and only state facts we have about this next SCP. Item number SCP-P383. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. P383 currently rests in dormant hibernation deep beneath the Ruby Sector biome. The cavern around it has been reinforced with heat-resistant alloys to keep the creature in place in case it ever awakens again, but further means of containment are in active development in case the creature's powers continue to grow as it slumbers. Description:
I don't think they could
P383
contain
is a
it.
42-foot tall crimson and black creature somewhat resembling a Tyrannosaurus rex mixed with an Ankylosaurus. Its body is formed from compressed magma and stone, and has proven able to regenerate its body by absorbing the molten core of the Earth when it is injured or when samples have been taken from it, even as it sleeps. It's uncertain how long this creature has existed, but we can say for certain as a result of samples pulled from it that it has lived for at least 5,000 years. This creature too has an alternate form, though it changes less dramatically than P487. P383 has been reported with its black markings changed to a glowing molten yellow state when it's particularly enraged. This form hereafter being referred to as its primal form.
There you go.
P383 has been in hibernation for 114 years now, last awakening under Siberia prior to being contained by the Foundation. It rose to the Earth's surface and, in its enhanced primal form, created the equivalent of a 12 megaton explosion, flattening 80 million trees over a 2,150 square kilometer area. The event has since been colloquially referred to as the Tunguska event, and the Foundation has been able to spread rumors of the cause being an asteroid that vaporized on impact, though not everyone who's studied the event outside the Foundation believes this to be the case. Only Foundation personnel know definitively, though, that this explosion was caused by P383 resurfacing, who since has returned to its home under the Earth to slumber once more. It's still unknown to this day what caused it to awaken then, and we have teams of scientists working still to discover what may prompt it to awaken again in the future. But it must be assumed that it will awaken eventually, and we must be ready to keep it contained when that happens, regardless of the reason. There are two other SCPs that the Foundation has studied that are linked to this one via mythical tales, but perhaps we'll cover them at a later date. That's all the time we have for today. If you have requests for other SCPs to cover in these lectures, whether of the more legendary variety or more common cases, please log them in the comments section below.
With him,
I've been Professor Oakland. Thank you for your time, and good night.
Yeah, it makes sense to do all the ones connected. Like next, he does legendaries. He should do all the legendary birds. You know.
Oh yeah, this was a good one. Very happy with how this episode turned out, and it was super fun working with legendary.
I didn't care for his Arceus or his
another
Mewtwo.
legendary
However,
episode,
his
or going back to regular
and the other one
Pokemon, or even doing an episode that's a mix of both. What do you want? Let me know in the comments. And of course, give me more suggestions for Pokemon, whether they be legendary or not, that you want to see turned into SCPs next. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure to check out the 4 other episodes in this series, or maybe the Phobias as Demons episodes. Tone-wise,
you're assuming that phobias are not demons.
Videos. And I finally put a poster of the Phobias as Demons up on my Teespring store. I tried to put up some Pokemon SCP art as posters and stickers and whatever, but it keeps getting taken down for copyright reasons, which is fair enough, but if I do end up getting any of that up and staying up, it'll be linked in the little bar beneath this video. But besides that, that's all for today.
I want to see more
SCPs
ending
as
superheroes
some
and
kind of
villains.
positive or uplifting note. And the thought I want to leave people with today is the idea that the only person guaranteed to be in your life for your entire life is yourself. So learn to make it a priority to be kind to yourself and to speak nicely to yourself in your own mind. You are stuck with yourself forever, so you might as well learn to be nice to yourself. I hope that's helpful to someone out there. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next episode on Monday, which is finally Sharp v Champagne, Dawn of Friendship? And it's also another redraw. I'll see you all there. Goodbye.
Okay, so that was interesting. Like I said, you know, didn't care for 2 of them, but 2 of them were actually really good. So, what do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of those Pokemon as SCPs? Let me know what you thought in the comments. Of course, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, guys. Help this channel grow back to where we were. And of course, click on the link to the original down in the description. Get down to Popcross Studios. Like the original and sub to him over there. I like the stories that he has to go with him. It's really cool. I will see you guys next time. Tune in every day for new content. Bye-bye.